On this episode, we are going to learn the blueprint of how to have a massively successful business that takes very little of your time. As a realtor, that probably sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? And I know what you're thinking because, like me, the vast majority of my career, I was working morning until night. I was sending texts and writing offers and working on my business until I fell asleep at night, but it doesn't have to be that way. We're talking to Clayton Gitz from Richmond, Virginia. He's an agent who, with his team of 28 agents, they're doing over $100 million in production every single year, and he only works 2 hours a week on that business. 2 hours a week. So, and he also owns a mortgage company, a title company, real estate investment trust, a property management company, a few other ventures, and has plenty of time for leisure, travel, and his family. Clayton Gitz has it figured out, and we're going to find out how he does it.
The Massive Agent Podcast, with lead generation tips and strategies to get you more leads and sell more homes.
I love to buy houses. I like to sell houses.
It takes brass balls to sell real estate.
Wait a minute.
The leads are weak. You're weak.
I've had better.
Oh, have I got your attention now?
Here's your host, Dustin Brohm.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 148 of the Massive Agent Podcast. This is such an awesome episode. So our guest today, Clayton Gitz, he is my mentor. He is somebody that I talk to multiple times per week. We spend a lot of time together because we're business partners with EXP. But beyond that, he's a mentor of mine. Okay, like I said in the intro, he has a system figured out where he's built a real estate team. They have 28 different agents in Richmond, Virginia. They're doing over $100 million a year in production. And he personally is only spending 2 hours a week on that business. It's his most profitable business. He's only working 2 hours a week. Well, for us agents that, are just, it's morning till night every single day, running across town, opening doors, writing offers, closing a deal, and then starting all over from scratch with somebody else, it's hard to imagine being able to have that kind of production and that kind of income and that kind of lifestyle with that little work necessary every week. Now, of course, it takes a lot of work to build it, but Clayton is so open and willing to share his story today that I think you guys are going to learn a lot. I know I did. A lot of the questions that I ask him today are out of my own personal curiosity. Like even though I've been lucky enough to have him as a partner, and if I need him, he's available for Zoom calls, and I can text him, and he gets right back to me. I'm blessed to have him as a partner, but even still, there were certain questions that I wanted some answers to, and so today was a great chance, selfishly, for me to get deeper answers to those. But you guys are going to get a hell of a lot of value. So whether you are a solo agent, brand new to the business and trying to figure out how to grow your income, you're going to love this. If you're a veteran in the industry and you've been selling a bunch of homes, but you're kind of burned out, like a lot of agents, once you reach a certain level of success and your income is pretty good, you're burned the hell out because of how much time it takes to maintain that type of, that amount of production. So Clayton has a blueprint to show us another way. And that's what I'm trying to do with this show. Every single week, I want to show you guys how you can build a true business. Clayton says it in the interview. He's an owner. He's not an operator anymore. He's an owner. And that allows him so much freedom to do what he wants and still have the income coming in that he needs and desires. So really excited to bring my personal mentor onto the show. You guys are going to want to take notes and listen to this a couple times. If you are new to this show, welcome. My name is Dustin Brohm, your host. This, of course, is the #1 podcast hosted by myself and the #1 podcast in the real estate industry that starts with the word massive. Fact check that shit. Nailed it. I am the co-founder of the Industry Syndicate Real Estate's podcast network, which this show is a proud founding member of. I'm a national speaker on all things real estate marketing, podcasting, social media, and lead generation. I'm a realtor myself in Salt Lake City, Utah, and have been for just over 10 years now. And I am the founder of the Massive Agent Society, our lead generation training and coaching program. Society membership is always free for my EXP team. If you are on my team anywhere, if you came in with me or someone else on my team, it's always free. And congrats to those of you guys that took advantage of the lifetime membership for the cost of an annual membership for our Massive Agent Society last week or 2 weeks ago. I forget when that was. And by the way, guys, we're extending it this week. Okay. If you are one of those, I had a good half dozen people that are like, damn it, I didn't hear the show until now, but the code expired. We're going to do it one more time. It's fall. I want you guys to go into fall and winter absolutely able to crush it with your lead generation. So we're extending the deal, Massive Agent Society membership, the lifetime membership, just one-time payment, and you're a member for life. You also get our new Massive Agent Daily platform for free as a member with the lifetime membership for the cost of an annual membership. So for less than $2,000, you can be all in. Just use discount code LASTCHANCE at checkout at massiveagentsociety.com. If you want to claim that, if you were not able to last time, go ahead. This is the last week we're going to be doing that. And that goes until Thursday. What do we got here? Thursday, October 29th. That will be available. So get lifetime membership for $1,000 off, basically. Use promo code LASTCHANCE. And lastly, as we mentioned last week, we finally unveiled our social media daily posting app called the Massive Agent Daily. It is my program on the Social Coach platform. You can go to massiveagentdaily.com to get that. Look, guys, if you're one of those agents that's been wondering, what do I post on social media? I know I need to use social media, but what the hell do I do? And it really takes a lot of your time and effort to figure out what to post and to put some of that stuff together. Well, obviously you could do it yourself, but if you want the easy button, if you want the fast pass, if you will, you just need our Massive Agent Daily app. Every single morning, you'll get a notification that says, hey, post this on social media today. You click a few buttons, you say, okay, put this on LinkedIn, boom, post. Then put this on Facebook, change the wording, blah, 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 post. Then change the wording again, add some hashtags, post on Instagram, boom. And it tracks the performance. Okay, we're going to tell you exactly what to post on social media every day. It's going to teach you why, and it tracks your performance over time. Unbelievable. There's nothing else like it out there. So if you want to really start to squeeze the most out of social media, go get yourself the Massive Agent Daily. It is month to month. There's no contracts or anything like that. And it is app-based. So go to massiveagentdaily.com to get started right away. All right. Today we have Clayton Gits, the owner of Mission Realty. He is also the owner of a mortgage company, a title company, a property management company, a real estate investment trust, and a few other ventures. He's been in our industry for over 15 years now, over $100 million in production, and he works 2 hours a week on that real estate business. It's crazy. Too good to be true? Maybe. You might think so. You probably do think so. You're like, what the hell? That's not even possible. Well, let's hear from Clayton, shall we? All right. I'm here with Clayton Gitz from Mission Realty in Richmond, Virginia, my mentor in the business, and I'm super excited for this conversation. Clayton, welcome to the Massive Agent Podcast, my friend.
Glad to be here, Dustin. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Episode 148. I mean, it took 148 episodes to get you on. I feel like I've let the audience down because this is going to be good.
Cool. So proud of you.
Thanks, dude. So you are somebody that I look up to tremendously in the industry. You not only run a very successful real estate team in Virginia, you own a mortgage company, you own a title company, you own a property management company, and probably some other stuff. 100 million plus in production, 28 agents on your team, 600 or so agents on your EXP organization, and you're doing something right. But I think what I respect the most is you figured out a way to have as close to a work-life balance as humanly possible. I mean, you spend a lot of time with your family, you do a lot of different things, and it's not all real estate, 90 hours a week. Excuse me. So I respect that. And I wanted to hear, how you're able to do that. I want to hear how you structure things that most agents maybe don't think about structuring their business. And I want agents to hear what's possible because, and you know this, because you and I speak a lot. I was just one transaction after another forever. Like, you close one and you're unemployed again. You got to do it again. And most agents are there. And I think it's because they just don't know how to do anything else. Would you agree with that?
Yes,
So let's start with, how did you get started in real estate? I want to hear how your career progressed from, I assume, being a solo agent to, where you're at now. You're a true business owner and, you're doing things at a very high level. So how did you get here?
Yeah. It's funny because I get that question a lot, and trying to kind of backtrack over 15 years and fill in the little holes of a pretty busy career. I mean, as an agent, I mean, this business will own you if you let it. And so, I got to go back to 2005, when I got into the business, Dustin. And, the really interesting thing that happened to me, and I'm a spiritual guy. So, I like to believe that I'm not here because of my doing. I'm here because there was a higher power that, that directed me. So back in 2005, when I got into the business, by the way, I got into this business because I bought a house and I didn't have a great experience buying that house. And I kind of walked away from that situation, realizing that the bar in our industry is kind of low. It's set pretty low.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah. So I was like, man, there's a need in this business for a higher level of service. And I came from pharmaceutical sales, and where you had to wear a suit and you had to present yourself well, and you couldn't wear flip flops, on your appointments. That was my agent.
I know.
And so I jumped into the business in 2005, and I was just having this conversation earlier today. One thing that I did is I burnt the boats. I was all in. And I think that's where I see a lot of agents go wrong, is they either dabble or they're not completely committed. I didn't give myself another option. I didn't have another option. I was engaged at the time and married to that amazing woman today. And I just had to make it happen. So, I think that's one thing that I would tell, your audience or anybody else that's, either in real estate or interested in real estate that's kind of stuck or not where they want to be. Go all in. I mean, go all in 100% every day. Don't dabble. Don't be that person. And so from the very beginning, I was all in. Now, what does that look like? 3 hours a day. There's no big secret. I mean, we're not building rocket ships in real estate. We are building relationships. And the best way that I found to build relationships is to communicate consistently with people and treat people like people. And I did that for 3 hours a day, 5 days a week for, 4 years, and built a massive business doing that. So, that was the springboard, just being consistent at that one thing. And by the way, doing that over a period of time where, you can't, again, I had this conversation earlier today, you cannot fail. If you're all in and you're committed to 3 hours, to having conversations with somebody about real estate, 3 hours a day. And so I had this massive springboard, and then all of a sudden, I got so busy, Dustin, that I couldn't handle it on my own. And that's where the leverage piece comes in. So then I went through the whole, failing forward process of hiring, anybody that had a pulse, and trying to figure out that whole, business scaling by using people. And so, kind of fast forward into my business, I went from me, myself, and I to 20. Let's see, today we're at 28 agents, but by 2015, I had 17 sales partners on my team, and not including the administrative team. So by 2015, here I have a team of 17 agents and staff, and we were selling about 265 homes a year. I was personally listing and selling 85 to 90 houses a year, which was frankly more than I wanted to do at that point. Dustin, being in the business, that you don't have a life when you're doing that kind of volume. Even though I was only working with my seller clients, I did not have a life. So I was working 7 days a week, literally trading all of my time for money. And here I have these two little girls, Samantha and Sophia, that are 13 and almost 11 today. And you know my wife, she's, those guys are my world, but I was never present. I always tell people, you've heard me say this before, Dustin, that if you had asked me back in 2015, what were the two most important things in your world, I would have said my faith and my family. But then if you followed up that question with, great, let me see your calendar. And I would have been like, dude, you just busted me, because if you had looked at my calendar, you would have said, you're full of it, man, because the only thing reflected on your calendar is your job. Yeah, you have an hour for church on Sunday, but everything else is work. And that was my life. So
that's important. So you could say whatever you want, your priorities, your why is whatever, but what do you actually do? Like, are you actually showing that? That's a gut punch for some.
Yeah. Well, and again, if you let it, this business will eat you up. It will consume all of your time. So
yes.
And I would have continued on that path, by the way, had it not been for what I believe was a divine intervention. And in 2015, I woke up one morning with a lazy eye, and I kind of have a lazy eye to begin with, Dustin. But I looked like a pirate. It was just awkward. So I went to see a friend of mine who's an optometrist, and he took one look. He pulled my eyelid down. He said, "Clayton, I hate to tell you this, but what I see really looks like cancer." And then I was like, obviously, like, what? Never expected that. And, I always tell people, I say divine intervention is what I share with people is that people that will listen is that Jesus didn't give me cancer, but what he gave me was clarity. And the clarity was, it doesn't matter how much money we make, Dustin, if we can't spend time with the people that we say we're doing it for in the first place. Yeah. And I mean being present and like there, right, with your kids and your family and your friends and the people that matter. So that's what happened in 2015, and it really, I ended up taking it like abruptly, like I had like 20 or 25 listings, and I literally said, here. And gave it to one of my sales partners, Tamara, who's with us today. She's one of my dear friends, and I took a year off from the business and did a lot of soul searching, man. And there's more details which we can fill in if you like about why I was able to take a year off from my business, but so did a lot of soul searching, a lot of prayer, read a lot of books, played a lot of golf. I still am horrible at golf even after playing a lot for a year, and then when I came back, I just had clarity on how I was going to figure out how to own a business and not have it own me. Like I was just committed to doing that. So I set to work on trying to figure out how to get myself out of production so that I could really, like I said, own a business and have a life. But B, real estate, as much as I love the industry, it's not my purpose. And it's not my passion. So what I wanted to figure out was, okay, how can I free myself up so I can go do what I believe I've been called to do. So right. We can fill in the gaps that you want to.
Let me ask you a quick follow-up question, because I absolutely want to continue that conversation, because it's so interesting to me, and it needs to be heard by our industry, because there's so many agents that don't know this, but they literally just have their own job. They call the shots in their own job, and they sell a house, they're unemployed. They have to do it again. Hamster wheel. That's fine if that's what you want, but you're a great example of how to do something else in a much bigger way and serve more people, serve more families, help the community more. But I want to go back to when you said to grow your business in the beginning, you worked 3 hours a day, 4 days a week. What were you doing during those 3 hours? And I assume that's prospecting time. What did you do exactly? Phone calls, texts? Did you meet people for lunch? Describe a typical day, during those 3 hours.
Yeah. So for me, it was all referral based, Dustin. And that, there are a number of ways to get in there and spend your lead generation time. For me, in the beginning, it was all referral based. That was the low hanging fruit as far as I was concerned. And after you've been alive a certain period of time, as long as you're, not a jerk, then you have relationships with people, and why not let them know that, you're here to serve them if they or anyone that they know has any real estate needs. So I did that consistently like I said, for 4 or 5 years. And people are like, well, didn't you run out of people to talk to? No, because I was constantly adding people to my database and building relationships. And then you come up with additional lead sources on the way. And I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention one of the things I love most about this business, Dustin, is it forced me, like, if you're going to go really, really big, I believe it's easier if you work as hard, if not harder, on you than you do your job. So I caught the personal development bug like really early on. And not only did I get outside of the industry and go to different events where I had, leaders, Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, all these guys and gals that made me realize that there's so much potential that you and I have that we never even tap into. And so I wasn't tapping I didn't realize, man. I didn't realize that, all these little truisms that we hear, like, man, if it's going to happen, it's going to be as a result of what you did. If it's not happening for you, then it's going to be a result of something that you did or didn't do. Yeah. And so, the more I kind of allowed myself to expand my mind, I'm still doing that. Like to this day, it's like, what are we actually capable of? We all have 24 hours in a day. we all got the same amount of time. And if we took our blinders off and just looked around at the opportunity that's all around us, instead of living in this very, and I think as Americans, I think this is a problem for us because we're so comfortable. We're just way too comfortable.
Oh my God. Yes.
Right. So when you're talking to somebody, about lead generating for 3 hours a day and, calling your, the same people, they're like, oh, that sounds horrible. Well, let's go try living in Afghanistan for, 6 months. It's we wake up in a climate controlled environment with fresh, clean water, organic fruits and vegetables, we're just spoiled.
So spoiled.
So, and listen, I'm spoiled too, but I'm just saying, it's like, come on, man, we're not digging ditches. We get paid big bucks to articulate our value to the consumer. And the more we can articulate and the better we can articulate that value, then the more money we make. We get paid to talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I really want to work on becoming a better communicator, a better listener. And then I was just consistent, man. I mean, this is the most inconsistent business out there Realtor is the most inconsistent group of people.
Oh yeah.
So anyway,
there's so many shiny objects. There's so many different ways to do lead gen. There's there's Facebook, there's Google, social media in general can be a huge time suck and a huge distraction, especially in the middle of like the craziest election I could possibly conceive. It's insane, but you're right. Like it's not magic. You didn't do any. Did you have magic words that when you were doing your 3 hours of prospecting each day, like you had magical words that just made people hire you? I mean,
dude, I fumbled my way through it, Dustin. I wasn't a big script guy. I rarely called on expired and FSBOs. I tried a couple times. I just didn't like it. It just wasn't me. So no, I legit just tried to treat people like people and build relationships. And I wasn't a secret agent. People knew what I did for a living.
That's
again,
big right there.
When you become a more attractive person to the marketplace, then, you just start attracting people to you. So that part of that personal development, I think that, so here's my thing. I think real estate is easy. I genuinely do. I think like neurosurgery is probably difficult. Real estate is easy. The problem with real estate is that you've got these foundational issues that get in our way, such as how we feel about ourselves, right? Not only physically, but up here. What is the self-talk that's going on? If you wake up every morning and your self-talk is, I suck, or I'm too fat, or I'm too skinny, or I'm not attractive enough, or what, if that's your self-talk, it's gonna be a whole lot harder to make it in this business. If your self-talk is, man, I got this. Like I'm gonna go crush this day. Like I'm gonna own this day. everyone I talk to is going to want to work with me, like, because I am amazing. Like, that's the stuff we should be telling ourselves, because it's true, man, in most cases. And again, we also make up stories about the outcome of a specific conversation.
Yes.
Before they even occur. So that's another thing that we have to stop doing. But so these foundational issues, you've got how you feel physically, which is what we're eating. Are we actually moving? Are we exercising consistently? Do you feel good about yourself when you go into your power hour or your power 3 hour? Then and you have good energy and you show up with a smile and you're making other people feel good about themselves, they're going to work with you, man. People work with you because they like you, they trust you, and they respect you. If you show up and you're like a bump on a log and you've got bad energy and you give that to it's just going to be much harder. I think financially, like if you're jacked up, it's harder to make it in this business. So one of the things that really allowed me to take a year off from my business is I paid off all of my debt. And I didn't have some secret to doing that. I used Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover. And we paid off all of our debt, including our house. And that allowed me the freedom to step away from production, maybe take a little bit of a hit temporarily financially, and ultimately, get to where I am today, where I haven't sold a house in 3 years. So real estate is easy. It's the foundational stuff, man, the pillars of who we are spiritually, physically, relationally, financially, all those things. You focus on those things consistently, and you will start to attract the right kind of people into your world. You start attracting clients instead of the opposite.
Yes. When you say real estate's easy, like my first reaction is like, well, no, it isn't. Like, I would agree it's simple. Well, it depends on how you look at it. Like, crazy complicated industry for sure. There's always something new. There's always some issue popping up, but it's fairly simple. I see what you mean by it being easy. And I think so many agents get tripped up where they're like, okay, I hear about Clayton. I hear about, so-and-so in San Diego, and they have a team and they're, selling 800 homes a year. I don't know what to do. And they think that they have to like figure it out. Well, did you figure it out? Or, isn't there a blueprint out there? Like, don't you just go do what those other people have done? It just takes you finding out what they did and then implementing that. That's the part where it seems easy. If you have the blueprint, have access to someone who can show you, I could see how that happened. So after you took that year off, what did you start doing to build this massive, Virginia dominant team that you have and this brand that you have? Like, what were some of those specific steps you started doing, and who were you following to figure out which steps to take? Yeah,
great question. So, I think it really goes back to, I've really, and continue to, Dustin, it's a journey. But I really worked hard on me. Like, if you would have known me 15 years ago, you would have been like, this dude is a wreck. And I was, I was, but I really went to work on Clayton. And then ultimately had a conversation with a gentleman about, about being in business together. And this person, he's my general manager. He runs my real estate company. We're partnered in a couple of other companies together. The caliber of this guy, he's just so next level spiritually. He's like a spiritual mentor to me. Physically, like the guy he's got all those foundational pieces, and our core values are like this. So I was able to attract this next level leader into my world because of the person that I became. He wouldn't have wanted to be in business with me 10 years ago. But 3 years ago he did. So that's where it started, is you take somebody like me that doesn't have, I'm not a good manager of people. I'm a sales guy. Like you give me something to sell that I believe in, and I will go share it. So I didn't have that scale. I didn't scale the business. Like, I tried over and over again. This is the third time that I've been out of production, and now this is the longest time. It's 3 years, and it looks like it's gonna stay this way. Yeah. But I tried twice without JT, without my general manager. So I attract this what we call integrator, I'm the visionary. John is visionary as well, but he's a better integrator. So he's a better operator, if that's a better word. So he comes into the business and we sit down, we put our heads together. I'm like, okay, let's go conquer the world. And he's like, hold on a second. We have to have this in place before we go conquer the world. And I missed those pieces previously. Mm. So now all of a sudden we have this relationship. That really good book by, I always mess up his name. I think it's Patrick Lencioni. It's around here somewhere, called Rocket Fuel. So we have a visionary. Yeah.
And there's another book that he did too, right?
Traction.
Orange and black.
Traction is our operating system. And I'm a huge fan. And again, we don't recreate the wheel. We didn't recreate the wheel. We looked at Traction. So this looks like an easy way to operate our business. And we just plugged into it. So Rocket Fuel is you take a visionary with an operator and you put them together and you have Rocket Fuel. And so today, like I said, 28 agents, the best culture that we've ever had. And it's because of the synergy that John and I and the rest of the team has, and the core values and the culture that we have put into place, which is really the glue behind our business.
When you became the person that could attract someone of his caliber, how did you first put it out there that you were even looking for somebody? I mean, how, like, were you actively saying like, hey, I want to grow a team and I need someone to show me how to do that? Or did it just someone in your network and you just had a conversation randomly? Like, how did that happen?
No, honestly, I was trying to recruit him to EXP.
Okay.
And we had coffee and we started talking about EXP. And then he said, I've actually been watching you for a while, and I said, I've been watching you too. Like, you've been really successful and yada, yada, yada. And he said, have you ever thought about being in business with somebody else? And that's when I was sitting down with him, it wasn't for that purpose. Even though I was looking for that person, I for whatever reason, I just didn't. Honestly, I thought he owned his own brokerage. I just wasn't thinking that big, right? And that's the thing. Back to, man, like, just allow yourself to just think big. So before we knew it, we're having this conversation like, what would our business look like? Our businesses look like if we brought them together. And so ultimately, what we decided is Mission Realty, which today is brokered by EXP. We just enveloped John's brokerage and brought his agents over and his staff, and that we scaled immediately because of that. And just realized the relationship. I didn't even know of Rocket Fuel, right back, but I didn't know what the gift that he was going to be, or that we were going to be for each other. This has been an incredible business relationship.
This is cool. That's not the origin story that I expected, because I know a lot of the other mega agents and mega producers out there, they'll go out there and actively advertise to hire a general manager, to hire a listing specialist, to hire, this role and that role. And that obviously works for them. And I was kind of expecting you followed a similar path, but I mean, how serendipitous is that? So
I didn't think more of it, Dustin. I mean, we had to figure that out.
Sure. Oh, I could imagine.
He's a high value, guy.
Of course. But how cool that, you may have prejudged that, right? Thinking, well, he owns his own brokerage. Like, he's at a different level. Like, he's at his own brokerage. That's better. But he was also, you didn't know this, looking for a way to, remove some liability, remove some responsibility, right? And so just by having the conversation, you figured out there's a lot of synergy that maybe you assumed was not there. That's really interesting. I did not know that's how your current Mission Realty started.
Yeah, and we're 100% better together than we ever were separately. And that's the kind of relationship, again, I'm a fan of not going it alone. And we've both benefited greatly from this relationship. It's a tremendous blessing.
And so when I want to kind of go back in your story, and I have the blessing of kind of already knowing your story a little bit. This is not an EXP conversation, but you were with Keller Williams for a long time, and you've only been with EXP for a few years. Was when you made that big change to go from, the safe choice to the, this new venture, relatively unknown venture that EXP was at the time, is that around the same time that you met this guy and made these big changes, or did one happen and then the other? Talk about that period of your life, because there was a lot of craziness that happened, but you made some decisions that, they changed generations of your family tree during that time. Did you want to talk about that a little bit? I don't want this to be an EXP thing, but why you made certain decisions, I think, is so important.
Yeah. So, I think you have to understand that how comfortable I truly was, like how good things truly were for me at Keller Williams, a company that I will always have a tremendous amount of respect for, because I only spent a year with my first brokerage and I spent 12 years with Keller Williams. And again, to tell you that I was, that I drank the Kool-Aid and was all in would be an understatement. I was never, ever leaving Keller Williams. So, I think a big part of it, Dustin, was when I found out that I had cancer, everything changed for me. It just changes your perspective. So when I went on that year-long sabbatical, if you will, and was really searching for my lane, like how can I continue to be in an industry that I really enjoy, but do what I love? Because I didn't want to throw away, this business that took me a long time to build, and I also had people that relied on me for income. But I knew that I had this passion, this person. And by the way, my passion is I love seeing other people succeed. So, any way that I can be a small part of helping someone turn around, that's my jam. Like that's what gets me juiced every day. And so when I saw this platform, what I saw was an opportunity for me to continue doing what I was already doing, but to serve a whole lot more people, not only on a local scale, but on a global scale. And that was, like you said, that was 4 years ago. And Dustin, it's happening. And I think that's, the risk taking is a hard thing to quantify, because I could have stayed with Keller Williams for the rest of my career and been, very successful and, all that good stuff.
Right.
But I don't know, maybe it's just personality type, Dustin. I haven't thought that much about it. I just saw, and again, this is not an EXP thing. It's not a KW thing. I just saw an opportunity that for me personally was just too big not to hop on board. And by the way, there were 800 agents when I first heard about EXP. So, and here we are, and you know the story. It's just lives are being changed, and that's what I'm about.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like I try to think back and put myself in your shoes of, 800 agents at a brokerage. And I can only imagine the problems and the inefficiencies and just all the crap that you had to deal with, 4 years ago, coming from it. And so that when you're coming from like the brokerage, like the biggest one, the most well-oiled machine there is, coming to the least oiled machine, is crazy. So you obviously had some foresight and vision, which is impressive. But how has
you have to understand? Forgive me. You have to understand that a part of this story is I understand the power of money that shows up regardless of whether or not you do.
Yeah.
And I that's the one thing that was missing for me at Keller Williams. Like, so I had to, at the time, and I'm not saying that I could have, bought more real estate and figured out, how to create more residual income and stayed with Keller Williams. But I saw an opportunity that could create significant income by serving other people at a really high level. And again, I'm really passionate when you can impact people and then in turn get paid. I mean, to me, that's the best of both worlds. An impact with this model, it equals income. Yes. So, and that's the deal, man. So, for me, like I couldn't get here fast enough. And I loved Keller Williams, but I could not get here fast enough.
I mean, even just 2.5 years since I joined, it's a totally different company. Totally different company. It took me 14 days to be onboarded. So many inefficiencies and frustrations and headaches. And I mean, and we still have frustrations and headaches when you're growing so fast. But one of the reasons why I respect you so much is not only like you could be totally set with just running a successful real estate team. That could be at Keller. It could be at, brokerage, ABC, doesn't matter. You could do that and scale it and be totally happy and be fine. But you chose to be the entrepreneur and say, okay, well, I also, while that's happening, while I'm running this successful team and growing it, I also want this to happen. And so you have a revenue share organization with our brokerage, and you talk about these other businesses you're involved in, because you own a mortgage company, you own a title company, you own a property management company. How did that transition happen? It's probably going to be serendipitous, kind of like finding your general manager. But I'm curious how you went from a successful, like top level real estate agent to, running all these other businesses.
Yeah. I think it's part of it is, again, getting outside of the industry and spending time with next level people in other industries that I love that answer. That are owners and not operators. Because, as agents, we all, many of us tend to think alike. So, and not to say that there are a lot of people that are doing what I'm doing in this industry, or plenty of people, I should say. But, getting outside of the industry and going to these different events, like Tony Robbins, and just allowing yourself to go there. And by people are like, go where? By going there, I mean like allowing yourself to dream. Like, if like you really knew my story. I mean, I was raised by a single mom. My mom raised three of us on like $19,000 a year. My mom struggled. And so to look back at how we were raised, and part of what like really motivates me and drives me is to be a provider, right? But to come from that and to be here today, I mean, Dustin, it's just, man, I think it's just believing in myself and not being afraid to not being afraid to look bad, not being afraid. It's not that I'm not afraid. I think that my reason for doing what I do each and every day is for those guys, like my wife and my kiddos and and my family and legacy stuff, like my children's children. So property management, I just did it because somebody else was doing it. And I was like, if that guy can do it, I know I can do it. So, and I mean, you want to talk about,
were you buying your own properties and managing those?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. So Yes. So it actually started, I was sending my, the properties that we were buying to another company to manage them. And unfortunately that company, wasn't doing a great job. So that's really what motivated us to start it.
Okay.
Mortgage was a relationship, so I attracted a guy to EXP to talk to him for about a year. And once he got on board, he was like, hey man, and this guy's next level. He was like, hey, listen, I've got this mortgage opportunity that I'd like to talk to you about. And I was like, sure. Because I'm always open to just listening. That's the other thing, man. I like always open to listening. So I'll listen to just about anybody, but I don't say yes to all these opportunities clearly.
Right.
But so he puts this mortgage opportunity in front of me, and I was like, why didn't I do this 10 years ago? So that started the mortgage company. And title is as real estate agents, we're the hub for so many different businesses. So, I think I'd love for, your listeners to understand the opportunity that they all have as they continue to scale their business with, whether it's mortgage, whether it's title, whether it's insurance, whether it's, I have a buddy that just started a home inspection company. He's killing it. It's a beautiful business because again, so many other businesses are dependent upon what we do.
Right. And so how did you learn to own those businesses? Are you more of a passive owner, or do you, how much of your time do those other businesses take during the week of yours, or, what does that look like?
No, I am an owner. Like, I don't want to operate anything. I'm an owner. So if I haven't found anything that I want to operate yet.
Sure.
So for the mortgage company, my general manager in the real estate company, he runs the mortgage company, and he has a piece of that. And he knows that I'm not an operator. He's an operator.
Right.
The title company runs by itself. I mean, that's something that, again, as an agent, when you're doing significant volume, if you don't have a title partnership, then you certainly should. The real estate investment trust, just a natural progression of the business. It's getting ahead of the iBuyers in our market. Money is not hard to find. Knowing what to do with it is the challenging part. And again, I don't touch it. I'm a passive owner. And then what am I missing? What am I leaving out?
Which business am I forgetting here? I think that's it. Mortgage, title, property management, real estate investment trust.
Yeah.
Let me switch gears here before we wrap it up with some rapid fire questions, because I love your story. And first off, thanks for being open. Like, a lot of this conversation is just me being curious. I have not been able to ask you these questions, in the many Zoom calls that we've done together, just because they weren't appropriate for those conversations. So a lot of this is just my curiosity, but I think the listeners are going to love it. When you get somebody, when you have somebody new who comes to you and they say, "Hey, Clayton, I want to be an agent," and once they make the decision, what do you direct them to do to launch their career? Because there's a million, probably more, 1 million plus things you could do as an agent to get business and be successful. Where do you focus your agents? What do you guys focus on for lead gen and for business growth?
You mean at Mission Realty?
Yeah. You personally, when you started, or, however you want to answer that.
Yeah. So I think, again, if I could go back and kind of do this whole thing again, I mean, we have a training program that we plug everybody into at Mission Realty. It's called Track. You know about it. It's next level. I pay for it. So it's literally check this box on day one. It's a 12-week training program. That's what we're using in our business and outside of our business as well, with EXP. But if I could go back and to the beginning, because I just dove in. I mean, and I was like, okay, I know I can't make money unless I help a buyer or a seller. And so I was door knocking, almost out of the gates, because I didn't know. No one told me in the beginning in my first brokerage.
Yeah.
So I'm door knocking in the snow in a really high-end neighborhood. That was not effective, by the way. And then I ran across a system. And for me back then, Brian Buffini that was the system. And I was like, okay, I can do this. It makes sense. And so I plugged in very, very early on. And it was that's what I did during those 3 hours. But if I could go back and do it again, I would have started with the end in mind. And that's what we tell our agents today is, where do you want to be, not next year, what do you want to be 10 years from now? Who do you want to become 10 years from now? And we start with who do you want to become, not what do you want your business to look like, because who you become defines what your business looks like, in my opinion. So we start there and get clarity on that. And then we focus on the business. So 10 years from now, what do you want your business to look like? So 10 years from now, we want to serve 10,000 families every single year. And that's the last piece that I think that I'll leave you with, Dustin, is just think bigger, man. You know, big ideas present big problems, and big problems need big solutions. Little ideas, present little problems, and little problems need little solutions. So the bigger you allow yourself to go, then you have to start to and you will. I mean, if you're committed to it, you're gonna, if you're gonna die trying, then you're gonna figure it out. And that's how committed to it. I mean, like I said, I burned the boats, man. Like, I'm just committed to the process, and I know I'm gonna fail. And I'm just okay with that, because that's where you learn. And then you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you move on. So it's being okay with looking like a fool. I look like a fool daily, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
but I'm okay with that. So.
Yeah. Now, if I was a better podcast host and a better interviewer, I would have asked you the question that you kind of rephrased, which was, if you could go back to the beginning, what would you do differently? It's a great question. You thought of it, not me. But you do have so much perspective. When I started, I was door knocking too. I literally, I didn't know any better. I knew that some people were buying Zillow leads, but it takes $10,000 a month to really move the needle on Zillow leads, which I think are garbage anyways, by the way. But I started door knocking because here's how I thought of it, Clayton. I was like, okay, I need to talk to people. Where are the people? They are in that house. How do I talk to the person in that house? I go knock on the door. Like, that was my thinking. I got a listing, in a high-end area. I got a listing, but it got me out of my comfort zone. So it wasn't totally worthless. Completely got me comfortable talking to people, got out of my comfort zone, changed my personality. So that was big. But yeah, just start. So that's interesting that you did kind of the same thing. Any last words of advice? So if you were on stage right now at a big, real estate training and you had the industry's ear, what would you tell agents? Like, what do they need to know? It could be something tactical that they need to go do right now, or something else. Give us some final words, and then we'll jump into the rapid fire questions.
Yeah, I think it's really, I tend to oversimplify this. I think, Dustin. So, it's, and that's why I think it's back to the foundational stuff. You got to go to work on you, because if you don't believe that you can do it, then you won't. And I see, why do 20% of the agents in this industry produce 80% of the results, or any industry for that matter. So we want to be a part of the 20%. So what do the 20% do differently than the 80%? Like, how do they walk? How do they talk? What are they wearing? What do they do? What's their morning routine? What is the 20% doing? And I'll tell you that the 20% is not doing what the 80% is doing. So, another one of my mentors used to always say, don't walk like they walk. Don't talk like they talk. Don't read what they read. Don't watch what they watch. Walk away from the 97%, from the 90%, from the 80% that don't have clarity and vision and purpose each and every day. So I would say, first of all, allow yourself to think bigger. Number one, have clarity on where you're going. And that's why I love starting with the end in mind. So what's your 10-year vision? Who do you want to become 10 years from now? What do you want your business to look like 10 years from now? And you draw your map or your Disney based on that huge idea. And that you have a really big idea. You can't sit down for an hour a week. You can't. You gotta, if you want to sell 10,000 homes a year, if you want to serve 10,000 families a year, 10 years from now, that's our big, hairy, audacious goal at Mission Realty. Well, brother, you and your agents have got to get in there and get in there consistently. And you got to hire agents that have the mentality that are going to get in there each and every day and want to go serve people at a really high level. So everything changes when you allow yourself to dream bigger. Otherwise, you don't have a business. You have a job. And that's what I really want for your listeners. I want all of your listeners to know, first of all, if this guy can have a little bit of success in this industry, then you can do it too. That's my line. That is a fact. Yeah. That is a fact.
That's what I love about business, man. Like we're not coming up with revolutionary concepts, like unless you're inventing Facebook or, inventing a search engine. Like that's a totally separate conversation. We're just doing our own version of things that already exist. For real. And so thank you for those closing words. I wanted to give a quick mini testimonial, if you will, because over the last few years, and a lot of it is in, thanks to your leadership and guidance and mentorship, but thinking bigger, everything I do now is with recurring revenue in mind. I don't want to do anything that I get paid for once, trading time for money. I don't want to do it. I want to build something that is infinitely scalable. So, that's why I've set up certain businesses. We launched the Massive Agent Daily the other week. Part of that is that's the best way to help a bunch of agents so I can scale how many I can tell what to post on social media every single day is through that app. But it's also revenue that continues to pay me every month. I just have to build it up front. And same with revenue share at the brokerage, by helping people come on board and then helping them succeed. Boom. It's not, close, sell one house, get paid. That just doesn't interest me anymore. So, I've only been doing this for a few years and it's absolutely changed my life. And I could only imagine what the next, 7 years to complete the decade, what that's going to look like. It's exciting when you do think with the end in mind. You're bold enough to say, you know what, everyone else is doing this, but I want this. So I'm going to start making decisions that move me towards that. And once you actually start moving in that direction, it's mind blowing. Even a little taste. And I'm only right there at a little taste. It's mind boggling. And I want that for everybody. So great advice. Begin with the end in mind. And then lastly, since I started really taking care of myself physically with exercise and with nutrition, since I had my EKG in May, I told the listeners I had what I thought were heart issues, but it was just stress and anxiety. Since then, dude, I haven't shown any of the before after pictures yet. I've got the six pack. Like I've got it. I used to be this chubby dude. I'm already at six pack and I'm going for going even further because of 75 hard. I'm 50 days into it today, 2 workouts a day, every day, drinking a gallon of water, no alcohol, no cheat meals. But what that's done, not just physically, I feel so good about myself. And I know that if I say I'm going to do this thing, I have this track record of doing the things that I told myself I was going to do and doing hard things. And so I have more confidence. Yes. It's mind boggling. So it is. So I'd encourage anyone listening, do 75 hard. I don't care if you are 400 pounds, you could walk twice a day. You can change your diet, do it. It's a mental program. It's not a physical one. It's both, but it's more mental. So anyways, I just wanted to get those 2 personal points in. Clayton, every time we have a guest on, we do these rapid fire questions to let us get to know you a little bit more. Either or questions. So you don't need to elaborate unless you want to, but I'll just kind of blow through them and you could pick one or the other. And then at the end, we'll let you tell people where they can find you and how they can find out more about you and all that good stuff. Cool. All right. Facebook or Instagram?
Facebook.
Facebook or LinkedIn?
Facebook.
Books or podcasts?
Books.
Books or audiobooks?
Books.
Okay. Have you done 75 hard? You do it well. I didn't start reading physical books until 75 hard because I have to. iPhone or Android?
Oh gosh, iPhone.
Good call. Alexa or Google Home?
Alexa.
Burgers or pizza?
Ooh. Oh man. Pizza.
That's the one. Which one?
Pizza. Sorry.
Oh, pizza.
Yeah.
New York or LA?
Well, it used to be New York, but I mean, do I have to pick one of those?
Yeah. What would you pick if you could fill in the blank?
I'd probably still pick New York.
Okay. Man, I love New York. I want to go back, but like I've heard it's actually a great time to go because there's no crowds, but then that's also like part of why I liked New York. It's just to see everything boarded up. Like I don't want to do that, man.
Yeah, same.
NFL or NBA?
NFL.
Baseball or football?
Football.
Mountains or beach?
Mountains.
Podcasting or vlogging?
Podcasting.
YouTube or Facebook Live?
Facebook Live.
Uber or Lyft?
Uber.
Gary V or Grant Cardone?
Gary V all day.
It's a common sentiment. What's the most impactful book you've ever read?
Oof. The Bible.
And then one app recommendation. Are there any apps that you're playing with on your phone that you're loving right now? Any app or program?
It's EXP related. I look at the stock a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I spend most of my time, on Facebook, and it's not personal time. It's business. It's tactical business stuff.
Right. That's
Yeah.
funny. I too, like I'm always on social media doing something on my phone, and it's very rarely like doing anything personal unless I get sucked down some political rabbit hole or something, which is happening these days. But my wife's like, well, you're on Facebook all the time. I'm like, I'm working. Like, this is literally what I do. This is my business. And I could understand how weird that must be to those who don't do what we do or who aren't entrepreneurs. And they just go to social media to escape and to be entertained. So interesting. And lastly, where can people find you? Where can they learn more about you? Are there any groups that you have that they could be part of?
Yeah, so I think the best place is Facebook, just because that's where I spend most of my time. Just certainly feel free to message me. And I'm a giver, man. Like people cared enough about me to give and have given me a lot in this industry. I think that's one of the really cool things about this industry is people are really open to sharing. And so if I can help in any way, just let me know. And just really appreciate you and the opportunity to share some thoughts today, Dustin. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, man. I always love talking to you. I'll probably have some follow-up questions. I'll DM you later and be like, well, what about this? But we'll have you back on the show. I'm anticipating this is going to be a crowd favorite. So thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon, my friend.
All right, brother.
Guys, there's so many people winning at an extremely high level in our industry. They have the same real estate license that you do. They've just chosen to do things differently. They've chosen to go down a path and do certain things differently than you. Okay. If you have a certain goal for income, for revenue, for lifestyle, maybe you only want to work a certain amount per week and have a certain income. Okay. Like it's all possible, but you have to start doing what those you admire and those you look up to are doing. The great thing is, because of people like Clayton who are willing to open up their playbook, especially for those aligned, with him and with us, through our brokerage and through our team who are partnered with us. Like he lays it all out for us. Like I can have any agent on my EXP team on a Zoom call with him for an hour, and he'll lay out exactly how to build the business that he's built. And he's incentivized to do that because of the business model that we have together. It's incredible. But as you can see, he opened it all up as best he can here on a podcast episode. I mean, a lot of this stuff you have to see visually, but he laid it out for us. That's just the type of person he is. And he's not the only one in our industry who's willing to show you their blueprint. Okay? All you need to do, if you are sitting there frustrated as a realtor, either you're burned out, you have too much business, and you're trying to juggle it all, and you're just like, something's got to give. Cool. Then those who are struggling and don't have much business and are trying to figure out how to get more, they're looking at you and they're like, well, that's a good problem to have. Maybe they're right. I don't know, but it's still a problem. It still causes stress. And those that are brand new and trying to figure out what they want to do, guys, you just need to decide what you want, what that end result looks like. How many hours a day do you want to work? How many hours a week do you want to work? What kind of income do you want? And then once you decide on that, go look at those who have those. Go look at the people who work 2 hours a week and make, 7 figures a year. And then it's very simple. Then you say, okay, what did they do? And how do I do it myself? And then do those things. Simple, not necessarily easy. There's a lot of work involved, of course. And open-mindedness. You've got to be willing to let go of the way you've been doing things all along. Before I started building businesses, I was, because I was so busy just doing things, right? Like posting on social media and, messaging back and forth with this client and scheduling showings for the next day and doing all this stuff. I was so busy that it was so hard for me to take a step back and be like, wait a minute, if I keep doing these things, I'm never going to grow. I'm going to keep having the same results. My stress is going to go up. My income's not. And I don't want that. So once I finally took a step back, I saw, holy crap, there's this opportunity. There's this one. I could do this. This is more in alignment with what I want out of life. And I started then doing those things, and it's life-changing. It all starts with defining what it is you want. So if anything Clayton described, if there's anything about what he's built that you like, okay, let's make a decision that that's what you want. And then you have to start doing things, taking action that gets you towards that goal. All right. If you want to partner up with Clayton and myself so you have access to him whenever you want or need it, then let's talk about that. Okay. Anyone who joins with me and my EXP team, you get Clayton. Like he's part of the deal. It's incredible. So we could talk about that. If not, reach out to him personally and see if there's any opportunity for coaching or, see when he's speaking next or training next. But guys, there's people out there that are winning at a very, very, very high level. And once they build their business, it doesn't take them 40 hours a week to oversee. It just doesn't. I've heard numerous other industry leaders that have names that you all recognize, and some that you don't, that are all doing $100, $200, $300 million a year in production. They work a few hours a week. They just oversee the business because it's a business. It's not a job that they own, right? Like most solo agents, we just have our own jobs. I hope this has been an eye-opening episode in a positive way. I hope it's been empowering. I hope you can see that, hey, this is possible if you just go in a certain direction and align yourself with certain people that can grab your hand and show you step by step along the way how to build what they've built. That's what Clayton is doing for a lot of my agents. That's what Clayton is doing for me. And there's others like him that are doing that. You just have to be bold enough to align yourself with those people. Amazing industry. And guys, with all the negativity in the world, with all the bullshit, with the election, with Trump versus Biden, and blue versus red, and left versus right, and all this blah 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 blah. And sometimes I feed into that. Sometimes I let my guard down and get into that as well. But people are good. Guys, people, human beings, especially Americans, are overwhelmingly good. There's so much goodness. There's so many people willing to help, but you have to align with those people. And that's on you. That's a choice that you have to personally make. You have to personally decide who you associate with. Sometimes you have to, as Clayton described in the episode, sometimes you have to become a certain type of person in order to attract those that you want to be like. Okay, that's not something you could just do overnight. That takes work, but that work can start tonight. Okay? I want to have so many of you guys become Claytons, right? And be doing, 7 figures a year in revenue, working a few hours a week. I would love that so much. So please align yourself with people like Clayton, other industry leaders who have a business model or have a business or have lives that you want, and then start doing what they're doing. You can't just pick and choose. You have to start doing exactly what they're doing if you want to have exactly what they have. All right. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I love doing this show because, selfishly, whenever I interview people, I learn. I'm able to ask questions that help me and that, fill in some of the missing pieces for me personally. And And it's amazing. Like it's one of many benefits of being a podcast host is, I'm able to talk with people like Clayton and Peter Lorimer and Grant Wise and, everyone else we've had on the show. Amazing. So thank you guys for listening. Without you, no one would ever want to come on the show. So thank you for doing it. If you got value from this, please share this episode with a friend. Take a screenshot of it, send a link to it, whatever you need to do. Just verbally say, hey, you should go listen to the Massive Agent podcast. But I ask you, please help us to grow our audience. Please share this with an agent or agents who don't know about us yet. We can continue to grow our audience and continue to have amazing guests come and give you all the goods for free right here. So last call, guys, Massive Agent Society, lifetime membership for the cost of annual. Good until October 29th, 2020. Use the code Last Chance, and then make sure you get our Massive Agent Daily app. So it takes all the guesswork out of what to post on social media. You just wait for that notification each morning and then do what it says. Follow the prompts, click a few buttons, and then watch your social media engagement grow, watch your brand grow, and watch the results increase. Thanks, guys. See you next week.